So Katerina, we are doing another project today, so the Trivvs application. So let's just jump right into it. So in a sentence or two, can you tell us what the Trivvs application is about?
So Trivvs application is designed to help property owners to actually observe and monitor their value of their property. So imagine you have a house and you took a loan to buy this house, right? And then you can easily see by putting some details about your property, you can easily see what are their expenses versus incomes, what is the property market value at this moment, and many, many other things, which I will tell you a little bit later. But long story short, so this app helps to the property owners to manage how profitable their property is.
Okay. What was the specific pain point that they were aiming to solve with this application?
So I think it was the problem that quite often people buy houses, but they don't actually know what is the market value of the house at this specific point. Are they winning or are they losing? Because the market is changing, and with all the crises, with all the situations, so you are not really always up to date in terms of the actual value of your property. And this is one perspective. From another perspective, there are also other expenses related to the houses, like your bills, your utilities, etc. And from another perspective, there is also some revenue might be related to this property, attached to this property. So, for example, if you're renting out the house, obviously you're making money from it, and obviously you can compare what are the expenses versus incomes, and basically see the dynamic how it's changing over the time. There were also other nice features that were not, let's say, they were not solving the main problems, but I think they were really cool in terms of the idea. So let's say we were comparing the expenses, let's say it's an electricity bill or an internet bill, with the offers on the market. So if we take a small city and we can say that there are several providers of the internet or electricity, we could propose to the house owners to actually compare their expenses in these areas to the offers on the market, right? And this was a very nice integration also with other services, because we were not only helping the house owners to see if their expenses are actually compatible, but also to offer them something from the market, right? To see if they can switch to another provider, and to also, to have this community with the application. So I think it was a really nice idea, and it was a very nice feature, although it was not in the initial stage. So we developed it a little bit later, but it was a nice addition as well to that.
Could you give us a little bit more of an overview of what the development phase looked like from start to finish, and how you guys approached it?
So once the client has approached us and we signed the contract, so we went straight away on the discovery session. During this session, we gathered the requirements, so how the client envisions the applications, what kind of features they would like to see. And actually, this client had a very clear idea what they wanted. So they came very prepared with all the user flows and everything. So I would really like to thank them for that preparation work. So once we had a clear vision on what needs to be done, we did also like an internal discovery session with the designer to understand how we can approach this application, because this was a mobile application. So actually it was PWA, so progressive web application. We did not have the web version for it. So we wanted to make sure that all the graphs and all these dashboards and analytical, features, they will look nice on mobile. So we had to be very careful to not overload users with the different elements within the applications. Keep it clean, simple, yet to drive the decision-making process for the house owners. So we did a really great job in terms of the design together with the client, because they were giving us their feedback on how we are progressing, if they like something or not. So there was an extensive, let's say, milestone in terms of how we designed the app. And once we finished with the design phase, we kicked off the project internally with the developers to understand if there are any technical potential, issues that might come on the way. And there were actually some, but a little bit later about that. So we started the development phase, and traditionally we do it within sprints. So we divide the whole scope into milestones or sprints, and then we deliver every 1 week or every 2 weeks a small working part of the application to the client so that they can also perhaps test themselves, see how it looks, maybe give it to their users to get their early feedback. So this is our usual approach. And this was happening until the end of the development phase. On the way, we were obviously testing the application. And at the very end, we were also doing the regression test to make sure that we are releasing the bug-free application. And so I think that was it. So we handed over the project to the client. They went to their clients. And then they started to test the whole thing, giving us the feedback. We were polishing the application until they were happy with their results. Yeah, that was our journey.
That's amazing. And so you mentioned there that there were some challenges that you guys faced. Would you like to tell me a little bit about what those challenges were and how you guys overcame the challenges?
Yeah. So the client actually was a subject matter expert. So they were working within the field and they knew very well how all the calculations and all the graphs must work. But when you're new to a specific field, especially if it's like an industry specific application and things like that, you have to become also kind of a subject matter expert. So this happened here. We had to learn all the formulas, all the calculations behind all the graphs that we were building. So how to build an estimated value, how to build an estimated equity, how the mortgage calculator works. So after this, myself and the team, we became like pro, in all these calculations and how things actually must work, which was great. Actually, it was a great experience, but it was a pretty extensive mathematical work. So we had to create ourselves formulas, translate it into Babel language, which was not also so easy because in some cases, Babel has some limitations in terms how you can put like simple mathematic formulas there. So I think this was one of the biggest challenges across the whole development process. And we also did quite an interesting and complicated integration with an external system that was providing a coefficient of the current market value of the specific location and things like that. So to make sure that we are giving users the estimated value of their houses, but not just based on, some average numbers or something like that, but on the actual market situation. We had to integrate with this system. And we were, let's say, updating every day what is the actual value of property. So it was interesting. It was difficult. It was very insightful. And I think now we can do any application that is about the mortgages and, loans and things like that, because we really do have now knowledge in this.
Had to do a lot of research there. And you say when you run into situations there where you said sometimes Bubble has limitations on what is achievable with the platform, what do you do then when you run into a situation like that? What does NerdHeadz do?
So unfortunately, this was before the times when ChatGPT was as it is now. So we had to do the research ourselves using Google and GitHub and all these things. But basically, if we don't have an answer internally, because quite often we have very experienced developers that can give an advice. We have an experienced CTO that also can provide some technical solution to some issues. So let's say first thing to check internally. Can we solve it internally? Yes or no? If we cannot solve it internally for some reason, obviously we do the research externally, perhaps even talking to other developers outside of the organization or things like that. So we just try to find a solution that would solve our problem. But we never say that it's not possible, because basically if you somehow approach the bubble limitations, there is always coding solutions. So you can always translate it into standard code and find the right solution for that.
That's amazing. That's good. So there's nothing that NerdHeadz cannot solve. Is there anything that maybe that I haven't asked you, anything that you would like to add to our discussion today about the Trivvs application?
Yeah, just to maybe sum up, I think it was a very insightful and a very interesting project and the application itself. And I don't know if the marketing strategy was to conquer the whole world, because we were developing it specifically for Canada. And honestly, if I had this application in my location, I would definitely use it, because I think it's a very useful thing. And not only just because you can monitor your expenses and your incomes related to your property, but also to benefit from the other things, like, for example, find a better provider for your service, for your expenses, and just keep also an eye on the market value of the other houses. So I think it's a very interesting solution. It's a very creative solution. So we didn't do it boring, and because not everyone can understand like graphs and numbers. So we try to make it as simple as possible, yet insightful, and also driving the decision making among clients, among the users. So I want to thank to the client because it was an interesting journey. They gave us a lot of knowledge in the industry, always very open and nice feedback from them. I want to thank also to the team because they were also very hands-on approach and never give up and always finding creative and very smart solutions. So that's really great to know that behind the project there is a team that always supports any challenge that the team might face. So that was really great. Yeah, I think that's it.
That's great. And Katerina, if you would like to say anything to our viewers today, what would you like to say to end off today's call?
I think now, if you're a subject matter expert in your industry, if you're an existing business or you just try to create a new solution because you see some pain points on the market, some gaps on the market, I think it's a really great opportunity to utilize AI, to utilize existing technologies, and also to find the right development partner, whether it's NerdHeadz or someone else, to actually materialize things in the real life, because there are so many things that are not yet developed or not yet created, but they could definitely provide value to users and to the audience. So just to be brave and to have courage and maybe some organizational skills to just kick it off, try it, and to see how it looks, because now is the time when all the ideas can be tested and verified in a very fast and cheap way. So I think at NerdHeadz we understand this. We understand the importance for making fast, making smart, and making also something that the end user will use, not just fulfilling the requirements from the client, but also think of it from the end user perspective. And that would help to create something, maybe a small piece of an application, maybe it will be an MVP, maybe it will be a proof of concept, but something that later on can grow to something big and something great. So I'm just encouraging everyone who is hesitating yet to build their dream application to start today, tomorrow, but definitely this week. So to not be afraid to try
new things and to be uncomfortable. You never know. You could have the next Facebook. You don't know. Could be the next thing, right? So dream big. I like that. Thank you so much, Katerina. It's so nice to see you again. And thank you for sharing the story behind the Trivvs application. I'm definitely going to go check it out.